Welcome to CEO Money. I'm Michael Yorba. Thanks for joining us. I have Richard Weylman, Chairman and Managing Director of Weylman Consulting. Richard, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Michael. Great to be with you today on CEO Money.
I'm glad you're here. All right. Now, in a word, where is it becoming increasingly difficult to get buyers to engage? And how can companies and individuals stand out in today's marketplace?
Very briefly, the biggest issue that we're still facing today is people, companies are marketing their attributes, their features, their products, their services. They're calling them unique value propositions. People know the difference between a proposition and a promise. So the reality is they're convincing. They're working hard to convince the consumer. Please, please, please engage with us. When in fact, what the consumer is looking for, I want some sense of the outcome I'm going to achieve here. Excellent example is Walmart. Let's look what happened there.
Right.
I mean, low prices every day for 11 years, trying to convince people to come to Walmart. New CEO takes over, we'll say less than 2 years ago. He decides, let's get rid of talking about us and try to convince people. Let's focus on save money, live better. They've had a record quarter. Same-store sales are up, inventory turns are up, revenue is up. Online sales, Michael, up 40%. Why? Because people want to save money and live better.
Maybe I should change my mantra to make money live better.
Sounds like a plan, man. But that's the difference. Everybody's focused on convincing.
All right.
And they need to be focusing on curiosity to get people to say, oh, how do you do that?
Okay. That's good. That's a great point you just made. Duly noted. All right. Now, many companies and individuals believe that they invest heavily in their customer service protocols, such shorter wait times, faster responsiveness. Address that issue.
All of those are good things. Obviously, they're transactional. Today, the consumer has so many choices. They're not just looking for good service. Frankly, it's a minimum requirement. If you don't deliver it, people today don't just complain on Yelp. They want to get even. You make a mistake with them in service, and they're on the aggression. They're going to social media you into the ground. So what are people really looking for? What people really want today is an elevated experience. What does that mean? That simply means that when they engage with you, it's not just good service, but you know their name, that you know the types of products and services that they typically buy if they're an ongoing customer. They want to have a sense that you're not just there, if you will, about the money, but you're there to relate to them and engage with them and elevate their experience, because an elevated experience is the key. Here's the reality. Most companies are focused on building a portfolio of products in someone's profile or in someone's business. What they need to be doing today is focus on building a portfolio of great memories with that company, because that drives positive word of mouth in the marketplace. People rave about good experiences they have online. They really complain when they get a bad service or a bad experience, and they come after you. So today it's about elevating the experience, not just delivering good service, because that's not good enough anymore.
100%. I'm all over that. I agree with you. All right, 2 to 3 most important things CEOs can do today.
Well, I do a lot of CEO conferences, as you know, and if 3 things. First is you've got to have a vision for the future. I had a call recently from a client, just took over as CEO. He had reached out to all of his people and wanted a whole host of new ideas to drive the business forward. He called me and said, I don't know what to do with these ideas. I said, it doesn't matter. The first thing you got to have is a vision. Ideas aren't important. The important thing is you got to have a vision for where you want to take the business. Then you'll create the right strategies and select the best ideas to execute. Because without a vision for where you want to go, no amount of strategy in the world is going to save you. Cool. You're just going to try something for 6 months and then we'll try something else and people grow defeated. So first you got to have a vision. Right. Secondly, you have to communicate with the different generations. It's not, we don't have all boomers today or all whatevers. The truth of the matter is you get boomers. There's 5 generations in most organizations, at least 4. And so the reality is you have to realize today, regardless of the generation, that positive builds and attracts. And CEOs need to find ways to reinforce the purpose, the positive nature of the business, what it is they're trying to accomplish for the, let's say, customer and or client. So first is vision. Secondly, positive communications to move people forward. And then thirdly, critically important, is to build a culture where people are not only working on purpose, but they realize the real customer is not the guy or gal that is in the organization at another level. The real customer is the people that are spending money with them every single day to be able to drive and buy their products, drive profitability, et cetera. That's the end customer. And so CEOs need to really work on, can we create a culture around that? And just a quick tip, just as one organization we work with, they just won the Fast Casual Restaurant Award. We designed a way with them called the Freddy's Way. And the important thing about that was every employee, now this isn't fast food, let's be clear here, Michael, okay?
Right.
So, you got fast food people. So the truth is you got young people there that are really wanting to work on purpose, not pressure. But what they want to deliver is an elevated experience. Why? Because every day we have a ritual that the manager talks about before the shift start. Here's the one thing we want to focus on today. Just like Ritz-Carlton does, just like Four Seasons does, they emphasize that ritual for a couple of minutes, and guess what? People are working on purpose. Vision, clear and positive communication, and most importantly, in summary, make sure you build a culture that's about the customer, not about yourself or just profitability.
Right, servant leadership, I get it, that works. Now,
Bingo.
you mentioned something earlier, the bottom line, and that is engagement. Getting some tips out of you for customer engagement. That's where it all ends up.
Absolutely right. So just a couple of, very briefly. Well, let's start with one. There's a lot of companies now on social media, Facebook, LinkedIn. I mean, the list is pretty long. Okay. But most people and most companies are on there touting how good they are. We did this and we accomplished this, et cetera. So what they're really doing is justifying their, shall we say, value to the marketplace. If you really want to engage with people, what you should do, let's take it LinkedIn as just an example. You get a notification on one of your customers. And so what do you send? Congrats, the automated response. You can't take a minute and write, congratulations, Jeremy, really delighted that you moved up to senior VP. That is engagement. That makes a difference to people. So if you take that moment and engage, that's one thing you can do. Secondly, make sure that if you're, let's say, even running a data center or a call center, when that pops up on the screen, that call comes in, you know who that individual is as a customer. Versus, I'll give you an example. I checked into a hotel last night. I'm on the road speaking all the time. And the young lady says, can you spell your name? Well, I can, I struggle, but I'm willing to. And then she said, oh, I'm sorry, are you checking in? I said, well, it's 11:30. Yeah, I'd like to check in. So my point is, all these little margins that we don't talk about are the ways that you engage with people at a deep level so they know they mean something to you. Don't tell them you reviewed their account. People don't want to be an account. Okay, you can say, listen, I've looked at your previous orders, or if let's say you're in financial services, I've looked at your financial plan, or maybe you're an architect and say, well, let me look at your plans. Why don't you say, let's look at what we're designing for you. In other words, speak to them as individuals, personalize and humanize. Stop writing to people as dear owner or dear customer or dear prospect. People hate that. What they want you to do is write to them as an individual, use their first name, engage with them at a deep level.
Absolutely.
You should capture things that make a difference. What are their preferences? What are the types of things they're involved in? I have a client right now. He's about to lose a massive account, $17 million worth of revenue, because the people don't drink, and he's invited them to 3 wine tastings, called them twice and told them, please don't ever do that again. Now they're going to move their account to another printing firm. Why? Because he's not listening. So the key is teach your people how to listen so they can engage at a deep level. Another quick tip, if it were me and what we do in our firm with our consulting clients, even speaking, we set up a Google alert for every single one of our clients. Why? If something comes up, it's free. You go online, Google Alerts. Pretty simple. Go to Google Alert. Pretty easy. Set it up. And what happens is searches overnight on the internet, pops right up on our screen. And I see things even before the press release is really disseminated across the internet. I'll see it. I'll fire an email back. Hey, George, delighted to see this is a direction you're going, or whatever. And you know what people say? Thanks, Richard. I really appreciate it. I got one today just before this call. He reached out to me and said, Richard, so good to hear from you. Thanks for pointing this out. We missed this article we were mentioned in. Let's talk next week and do some business.
Exactly.
Now, what does that cost? How about zero?
Now, exactly. That's one other thing that I've noticed in business, and I see this as an ongoing evolution. of engagement is having either shareholder or client advocates, making the people that like you, that participate with you in one level or another, be your advocate. That is the best sales force I've ever heard of.
No question.
Are you working in that area?
Yes, very much so.
Okay.
And we have a formula.
Tell
the
me.
formula is this. You can write it down horizontally. PSET. Okay. Everybody talks about their product, their process, their plan. That's the P. Then they talk about service, good service, great service, world-class service, unbelievable service. You won't believe our service. That's the S. But that's the reason companies are commoditizing individuals, because all they talk about is the P and the S, which everybody expects anyway. The key to create delighted advocates is the E. P-S-E. E is elevate the experience, engage with them as human beings. Lots of different things we can do. It's probably in my next book, The Age of Engagement, but how to really engage with people the deep way I'm speaking on that today here in Pennsylvania to a group of CEOs. But here's the point. If you engage, E, if you engage and elevate the experience, T kicks in, and the T, P-S-E-T, you transform the relationship because they're no longer satisfied clients, they're delighted advocates. And here's the truth. Satisfied clients are loyalty neutral. And people say, oh, well, my customers are really satisfied. Well, let me ask you a question. How many accounts have you pulled in this year? How many new buyers that were doing business somewhere else? They were pretty satisfied, but they were open to hearing your marketing message, hear from your sales force, or take your phone call. And every person listening to this broadcast will say, well, we got some of those. Great. They were satisfied, but they were open. What you want to do is create delighted advocates. So people are no longer open to talking to anybody else. As far as they're concerned, you are the only provider, the only game in town.
That's the way to put it. All right, Richard, it's been wonderful having you on the show. I know I want to have you back so you can give me these tidbits, these one lesson, if I can, snackable videos, and we can get them out to the rest of the world so they can elevate themselves and we can all do better.
Be my privilege, Michael. Thank you so much for inviting me today, and all the best to you at CEO Money, America's best business show. Appreciate you.
All right, thank you. All right, you've been watching CEO Money with Michael Yorba. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.